Happy Thursday. Let's check the streams, make sure we're streaming. Can you hear me? Can I be heard? Am I live? Let's do that. Let's check this. Let's go there. Let's figure this out. And I think it looks good. YouTube's always the slowest to update. Always the slowest to update. Is it streaming? I can't tell. Okay, it says it's streaming. Good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday, April 3rd, 4/3/25, 4/3/25. My name is Keith, and I am broadcasting live from Austin, Texas. Welcome to the stream. I stream every morning, Monday through Friday, that is, from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Or sometimes we blow past that if things are interesting and the chat is going well. But we're here to do two things. And I'm here to do two things. You're here to do one thing. I'm here to go over the job numbers in tech, talk about where they're at, look at the trends, and then look at any news that might be affecting people who work in tech. And you are here to hang out while you get your job applications out. If you are a tech worker who's been laid off, and there have been a bunch of those lately, if you are trying to break into tech and you are getting looking for that first role in tech, hardest thing about getting a job these days is staying consistent, because it's been a rough run, especially since the first of the year. It's been a rough run, and there are still jobs being posted every day, as we'll see, but there are also more people looking for those jobs. It's more challenging now than it has been, and as a result, you got to get organized. You got to be consistent if you really want to be successful in getting that job. You need to be prepared, and you need to be on top of it every day. So I'm here just as a place to hang out and chat about things. If you have a question, throw it in the chat. My name is Keith. I've been a professional developer for over 30 years. Not quite 35 years, but we'll be there pretty soon, I think. And done a lot of different kinds of jobs in that time. So if you have any questions about working in tech, about being a programmer, about the current state of the job world, I probably have a couple of things to say about that. So if you do, throw them in the chat. If you know anybody who could use this stream, I'd appreciate a share on social media. I'm streaming every day on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. I started on Twitch at the beginning of the year just because that's the easiest platform to get up and start going live on. But I don't get a whole lot of viewers through Twitch. Just not where the tech people hang out in terms of looking for a job. So it doesn't hurt anything to stream there, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. I may lose that one. It just doesn't make sense. All right, let's just jump into it. The first thing we do is hit those job numbers every morning. Today, I checked the job numbers today, added them to my data, and the result is these three graphs right here. The first one looks at the last 7 days, and in the last 7 days, there's been a bit of a downtrend. We're going to see in the news today. If we had any hopes that things are calming down and that we could find a way through the craziness that's going on in our political and business world, all that has not panned out. The tariffs continue to breed uncertainty, and then all that kind of got doubled down on yesterday, And if you're up this morning looking at the stock market, you'll see that Trump waited until the stock market closed to make his announcement yesterday. But if he thought that was going to help, it did not. The stock industry, stock market is both the U.S. and the global stock markets are reacting around the globe, and they don't like these tariffs. They don't like them, and all this talk of recession seems to be more heightened than ever. So none of that's good. What it has to do with us specifically is where companies don't feel comfortable with the financial outlook of the business world. They're just less likely to hire people. We can see in general there's a slight uptick over the last 6 months, but if we look at the actual number of jobs coming out 6 months ago, it's just about the exact same. We're kind of in the same place, which is not great because last summer and last fall numbers were as low as they've been in a while. So we're just kind of in the doldrums there. If we look at the last year, we'll see that we're actually down considerably, probably 25% from where we were a year ago. And that's a more important number in some ways because it's takes into seasonal employment as a factor. So the other thing I do is split those numbers by entry level, mid level, and senior level. And these numbers I've been tracking since the first of the year, and you'll see that overall JavaScript numbers have just been flat this year since the inauguration. Remote work flat. When we look at the breakdown in experience levels, mid-level always has the most job postings. Senior level is, all these numbers have been relatively flat. And then entry level is the lowest number. And frankly, I anticipate that number to stay low or get a little bit lower in the age of AI. A lot of short-term thinking is closing the on-ramp for that has been pretty wide open for most of my career. If you are wanting to get into the industry and you learn some good, solid, fundamental entry-level skills, there were jobs for you. In the rise of AI and a recession, or in the midst of the beginnings of a recession, we'll see. There's been a little more pressure for people breaking into the industry. So, not great news. We'll see what these, the long-term effects of these tariffs are. But most people who are professionals who look at this stuff and it's their job don't think it's going to pan out very well. We'll see. Now, let's look at the news. What's going on in the news? I check out the news feed. One of the places I get my news from is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. They've got a really nice news feed there. So I will pull this up and let's see. Starting off, U.S. puts tariffs on all imports. The president unveiled sweeping tariff agenda Wednesday. Including a minimum 10% rate on all trading partners, in addition to levies on countries with the biggest trade imbalances, and the U.S., with the U.S. and European Union facing a 20% rate, while a 34% levy is imposed on China. Trump administration aims to dramatically transform trading partnerships with the goal of strengthening U.S. manufacturing. The president said, "They do it to us, we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that." That is a very simple way to look at it. He is correct. The president displayed a large chart listing various countries and the tariff rate imposed upon them, including 24% on Japan, 10% on the UK, 25% on South Korea, 31% on Switzerland, 46% on Vietnam. One of my friends texted me when this dropped. I was busy working and I didn't see it when it dropped. And he's like, "What the heck is up with Vietnam? Why is it so high?" I don't know. 49% on Cambodia. The European Union is poised to respond. European Commission President Leyen said Thursday that the bloc is preparing countermeasures. China promised countermeasures that will safeguard its own rights and interests. It will be interesting to see, in the early rounds of the tariffs with Mexico and Canada. Mexico just kind of stood their ground and called his bluff a little bit, and he backed off a little bit on that. But Canada was like, you know what, we're not just going to put retaliatory tariffs on you, but we're going to target red states, the people who voted for you, and we're going to make it very uncomfortable. So Canada was very strategic in going after businesses whose manufacturing was primarily in red states. So we'll see what that, if the rest of the countries learn that lesson. Is it going to be a bloodbath in red states? Are you not going to be able to buy Jack Daniels anywhere on the planet starting next week? It's going to be interesting to see. These are the kind of things that we cannot control. It's good to stay aware of them, but we had our opportunity to say something on Election Day in the United States, and the people spoke. Some of the people spoke anyway, and here's where we are. Can't change that now. Just got to ride it out, figure out what's going on. So bidders line up for TikTok. I've never, I'm trying to say, I certainly never have signed up for an account on TikTok. I want to say I've never been on TikTok. I've definitely seen TikTok videos that have migrated to YouTube, but I don't think I've ever been on TikTok. So this one doesn't affect me in the least, but it'll be interesting to see what's going on here. Lots of people kind of lining up to take a swing at it. President Trump met with White House officials Wednesday to discuss the framework to keep TikTok in operation before Saturday's deadline. Clearly there are a lot of people on TikTok. A lot of businesses use it for marketing purposes. It doesn't really fit with the marketing of our day job, so that's not been something I've spent any time thinking about. But it's going to happen one way or another. It's not going to be shut down. It's just not at this point. There was a chance maybe last year that it was going to be shut down, but I think everybody's kind of lining up to make sure that doesn't happen now. Just going to find out where it ends up. We'll have to see. All right, what are we doing? And here we go. So again, updated again 3 minutes ago. Global stocks were under pressure Thursday, and the dollar tumbled after President Trump unveiled his new plan for trade, and world leaders vowed to retaliate. Futures suggested that S&P was on track for its biggest loss since 2022, following declines in Asia and European markets. Banks, car makers, tech companies, especially Apple, and retailers took a steep hit, with investors concerned that the tariffs will hit growth and lead to higher prices for consumers and manufacturers. Yeah. I don't know what to add to that. going to be a bit of a bloodbath today. Your 401k is not going to be looking so good by the end of the day. I don't have a ton of money in the market. I got maybe 15% of my savings and investments in the market. I don't actively trade individual stocks, but there we are. There we are. Amazon is coming for Starlink. This is an interesting one. Amazon is going to launch its first batch of internet satellites on April 9th. The company said the 27 satellite launch kicks off Amazon's global goal of creating a mesh-like network of over 3,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, capable of providing global broadband internet. If successful, Amazon will directly compete with Elon Musk's Starlink, which dominates the space. While Amazon has previously launched prototype satellites, this launch marks the project's first official mission. It's good to see competition in any market. That's great. The interesting thing about this is the only way they get to space is on Elon Musk's rocket from SpaceX, which is interesting. And I'm curious why they didn't even mention it in the story. Yeah, nobody's talking about that aspect of it. Okay, here we go. Directly competing with SpaceX Starlink. It's really interesting. I'm surprised nobody's talking about that, because it just seems like it's it'd be one thing. I don't know what the analogy would be there, but, to essentially make your competitor take your product to market. It seems a little weird. What would be an analogy for that? I don't know. That's really weird. Layoffs surged to a near record high. Layoffs in March surpassed 275,000, a near record-setting figure topped by those for April and May, when the pandemic shut down much of the economy, according to data released Thursday, outpaced by the outplacement of firm Challenger Grain Christmas. That name just cracks me up every time I read it. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is working to shrink the government, was responsible for the vast majority of cuts, while other job data remained stable. Federal layoffs for the month were up 672% from the year prior. The thing about this is, while the numbers are stark and they're going to get worse in the short term, because there is a lot of concern that the Department of Government Efficiency is doing this illegally. There are lots of lawsuits that have been put in place. So it's likely that a bunch of these people that are being laid off, with the quotes around it, are going to get their job back. And they're going to get back pay. And they're going to get, some extra money on top of that. So it's interesting, even though those are layoffs, and that's kind of the official number. I don't know how many of them are rushing out to get into the job market, because there's, just this assumption that from the first round of layoffs that, they'll come to their senses and, I'm actually an important job, and they're going to call me back to work a week later when they find out that, something's broken. So it's not like, they're all rushing out necessarily to get on unemployment, or they're all rushing to get their resume up. Certainly some of them are, no doubt about it. But it's just weird. It's just not normal. So how these numbers play out is going to be curious. I don't know. Curious about it. Let's see what else we got in tech. arguments about training data. That's just never going to end. Introducing Claude for education. Anthropic flips the script on AI in education. Claude's learning mode makes students do the thinking. President of $61 billion Anthropic makes a case for AI in college classrooms as it seeks to challenge Open AI and Google. This is interesting. I think that's a good flag to plant. And putting it in colleges and universities is probably a better place to start than trying to put it into K-12. I mean, the thing about K-12 is, you're just learning those fundamentals. And that's the time when you don't need a crutch. That's where you learn to read. That's where you learn to write. That's where you learn to do, the fundamentals of math. And while there will be a place for AI in that, you got to tiptoe a little bit more, because again, it'll be too easy for somebody to get through. It's already, lots of complaints in certain areas where people are graduating from high school and not, some celebrated story last week or the week before about a woman who graduated from high school and couldn't read. These headlines, I struggle to believe some of these things, but certainly I've heard stories from my son about some kids at his high school who were struggling with counting out change, understanding how money works, and they're juniors and seniors in high school that don't understand how many quarters are in a dollar, those kind of things. It's not quite math per se. We live in an electronic world where we don't use as many coins as we used to when I was growing up. But at the same time, not understanding that a quarter is 25% of a whole, and there are 4 quarters in a whole. It's not good. It's not good. We're already on the verge of idiocracy, and there's a lot of concern that AI is going to, be the crutch that takes us right there. If you're a curious person, if you like to learn things, you're going to be doing great with AI. AI will be a boon to you. And we as programmers and developers, that's kind of our nature. It's hard to be a programmer. It's hard to work in tech if you're not curious, if you don't want to understand how systems work, if you don't like to invent things, if you don't like to build and debug and, struggle with a thing to make it better, you're not going to do well in our industry. So, but there are a lot of people that, that is not their inclination, or, in the nurture and nature argument, they have not been in an environment which is promoted and benefited them to develop those skills. A lot of people are going to be able to, slouch their way into idiocracy. We'll see. We'll see. This is the future. I've got one kid in college right now who's a junior in college, and another kid who will be in college in the fall. So this is right along in our wheelhouse right now. It'll be interesting. Interesting to see how that stuff plays out. AI masters Minecraft. DeepMind program finds diamonds without being taught. I have to read the article, but this doesn't seem like news. This has been around for a long time. AI playing games in general, but Minecraft in specific, We've been seeing AI play in Minecraft for years. Google Gemini is shaking up its AI leadership ranks. Okay. NVIDIA sets AI performance records in benchmark tests. Putin's AI blunder is a gift to opponents. I don't know what that's about. That's interesting. A practical approach to creating creative content and AI training. AI art does not have a soul, but did art before it have one? Did not have a soul. Artificial intelligence, thoughts from the classroom, generative AI and creativity. I am having a lot of fun with these AI art tools, and I watched Matt Wolf put out a video yesterday with 50 things that the new ChatGPT image generator can do. 50 things. 15, 20 of them I didn't care about. They just don't affect me, or I wasn't interested in them at all. Another 15 I'd, seen or guessed or whatever. Yeah, the rest of them, there was about 20 of them in there that I hadn't thought about, that I was impressed with. I was like, ran to my computer. I got to try this out. Let me try this. Ooh, let me try that. My results weren't as good as his, which is interesting. This is the way these things work, especially in the YouTube video world. You're gonna, do 100 tests, find 3 that are good, and you've got enough for your video. Oh, look at this. This is amazing what AI can do. And then you try it yourself, and you're like, well, it didn't work right out of the box. I'm gonna have to figure this out. Prompting, of course, is a big part of that. So, but if you get the prompt down right, or if you get lucky and it hits in the first or second try, it is stunning what these AI applications can do. Okay, start process, blah, blah, blah. Third world AI development is interesting. Africa's AI ambitions. Are we taking AI seriously enough, says the New Yorker. Will AI make us dumber and asocial? Let's brainstorm together at Santa Cruz night. I read this headline yesterday. How Malaysia became the engine for powering China's AI ambitions. The tool probes frontier models for lapses in intelligence. Anything else in the latest tech world? This Nintendo Switch Direct was yesterday. Did you watch it? I might have a big sort of Nintendo house. My kids are Switch kids. They're Pokemon kids. They're Mario kids. So a lot of chatter back and forth on the text messaging yesterday about what was going on with the Nintendo Direct in my household. The price point was interesting. It's a little higher than everybody was hoping for. But I was wondering if that had to do with those Trump tariffs, that they were hedging their bets, because you can always come down with your price, especially with if the tariffs don't have the effect that they thought, and then they came down and they go like, it's really $3.99 or it's $3.50, then everybody be like, yay. But lots of interesting stuff in there. That new Mario Kart looks pretty cool, I gotta say. Okay, we're up against it. We've run up against our time. So, let's wrap it up. Tomorrow is Friday. It's also my wedding anniversary. Coincidentally. Yeah. My wife and I were planning on going out of town. But those plans got shuffled to later in the month. But I will still be streaming on that day. we'll leave after that. But here we are. The news has not been great. It's going to get a little worse. But if you go to job boards like Indeed, like LinkedIn today, right now, and you do a job search for your job, for the kind of stuff you're looking for, and you filter for the last 24 hours, you will see new jobs. As bleak as the news is, we got to get our heads straight. We got to stay motivated. We got to stay in the game. There are new jobs being posted every day. Yeah. There's more competition now. It just means you gotta work a little bit harder. Nobody's handing anybody jobs right now. It means you gotta hustle. It means you gotta update your portfolio. You gotta update your resume. You gotta update your LinkedIn. You gotta really look for ways to catch somebody's eye, right? The goal of a resume, the goal of a portfolio, the goal of a LinkedIn is to get a phone call. At the end of the day, nobody's just handing out jobs when they look at your LinkedIn. But if there's something on your LinkedIn that's going to catch their eye, they'll pick up the phone. They'll send a message. These kind of things do happen. But they only happen if you're out there hustling, if you're really refining the way that people see you. Don't put the candid photo up there. Get something a little more professional. Use AI to generate a headshot. That was one of the things that I saw yesterday. These tools are now available to us. Let's use what we have at our fingertips now to make us more presentable, to make us more interesting. Ask AI to review your resume. Ask AI to review your LinkedIn. Give it a job posting that you think could be a good fit. Ask, how to make yourself more attractive to this thing. These are tools that are available that were not available to us 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Use them. Don't just sit around. All right. If you are in the job market or know somebody in the job market, please share this stream. I will be back here in 23 hours and 30 minutes, and we will do this again. We'll work our way into the weekend. It's a new quarter. It's a new opportunity. Get out there and hustle, and we're going to get that job. In the meantime and in between time, I'm going to be here Monday through Friday, broadcasting 8 a.m. Central Standard Time from Austin, Texas. My name is Keith. You guys have a great